Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm doing my August TBR. August is the month of the N.E.W.T.s magical readathon, which is hosted by G from Book Roast. I'll link her channel in the description, of course. I do want to say before I get into the TBR that I do not support J.K. Rowling. I don't condone her comments. I think that she is vile for the things that she's thought and the things that she says, and I'm glad that as a community we are coming together to recognise the awful things that she has said about the trans community. And I also want to quickly say that my channel is a safe space for anyone, any gender, any sexuality, any race. We will have no hate in my little corner of the internet. We will all be happy and be friends. Yes, the reason I am participating in this readathon still is because I've participated in all of the magical readathon events this year, and I want to do it to support G because she puts so much effort into these readathons, and it just seems like it would be unfair for her if we all just forgot about the magical readathon. I will leave a link to the video where G talks about the future of the magical readathon at the very top of the description, so if you are not quite sure what's happening from now on with the magical readathon, you can check out that video and she will explain. So I have my bullet journal here with the prompts on and the book I've chosen for each prompt. I'm excited to get started. Another thing before we start, I will not be kind of explaining the rules as such for the magical readathon. I will leave the video with the N.E.W.T.s announcement in it at the top of the description as well. My chosen career for the magical readathon this year is Hogwarts professor because I want to be a teacher. That is my life goal. So for the N.E.W.T.s there are 3 different grades: A for acceptable, E for exceptional, and O for outstanding. I think those were the 3 are. I know it's outstanding. In the N.E.W.T.s, to become a Hogwarts professor you need an O in the subject you wish to teach, which for me is arithmancy because I want to be a maths teacher in the human world, so I'm going to become a maths teacher in the wizarding world because I'm basic and have no imagination. An E in defence against the dark arts, and then at least an A in 2 other subjects. So I'm doing 4 subjects, 7 prompts, 7 books, and I'm very excited to take part. So first let's go through the prompts for arithmancy. For an A you need to read a non-fiction. For E you have to read a book that ends on an uneven number, and for an O you have to read a book that's between 260 and 299 pages. So for A, read a non-fiction, I will be reading How Long is a Piece of String by Robert Easterway. This is a non-fiction book about math. It talks about applications of maths in the real world. As I said, I want to be a maths teacher and I'm currently writing my university application. So I want to read some non-fiction books about maths to show that I really enjoy the subject so much that I spend my free time learning about stuff that we don't learn about on our course. So I'm trying to read at least 1 non-fiction maths book a month. I'm not really going to go into any more detail about that because I know most of you probably won't care because you don't like maths. For the book that ends on an uneven number, I'm going to be reading The Toll by Neil Shusterman, which I'm kind of regretting now because it is so long. This is the 3rd and final book in the Arc of a Scythe trilogy, which I have been reading since October last year. I know it's taken me ages to finish this series, but I'm so excited to read this. I read Thunderhead in June. It is definitely one of my favourite books of the year so far. I thought it was absolutely amazing. I had such a fun time and I'm really excited to dive into the finale, but I'm sad to never see these characters again, but I'm excited to see what happens based on the ending of Thunderhead. Very fun times. Very excited. So in this book, humans have defeated death. There's no poverty, no war, no disease. Humans live forever. So in order to curb population growth, the world organisations decide to employ these people known as scythes, which are basically just government assassins who go around their continent killing people in order to, make sure the population doesn't increase too much. Specifically in this series, we follow 2 main characters, Citra and Rowan, who in the first book are newly appointed Scythes apprentices, and we basically just follow them through their year of their apprenticeship, and then through a series of events. They get pitted against each other, and at the end of their apprenticeship, one of them will be ordained a scythe, and their first order of business is to glean the loser. I love this series. I think it's really, really good, and I'm so excited to finish it off. It's 631 pages long, so it is quite a big one, but I'm so excited to get to it, honestly. It should be so fun, but so sad. I'm gonna end up crying at this book. I already know. I'm ready to have my heart ripped out by Neil Shusterman. And finally, for arithmetic, for an O, you have to read a book between 260 and 299 pages. I found this prompt so difficult, honestly. I found it really difficult to find a book for, because I don't own many books below 300 pages. I think there was like 5 books in it, and 4 of them were graphic novels, and I don't really want to read graphic novels at the moment, and I didn't want to read the other book that came up, so I decided to have a look and see if I could get ebooks or audiobooks. I'm going to be reading A Song Below Water. You can get the audiobook on Scribd, so I'm going to listen to the audiobook of that. It's 288 pages, I believe. It's not a book that I know a lot about. Yeah, I know that one of our main characters is a siren, and all sirens are black women, but not all black women are sirens, and it talks about like racism and things, and it has these fantastical elements, but then it like these fantastical elements reflect aspects of the real world, and I've just heard really good things about this book, and I'm excited. I don't read a lot of mermaid stories or sea stories and stuff like that, so it's gonna be a fun time, I think. Moving on to Defense Against the Dark Arts. I need an E in Defense Against the Dark Arts, so the 2 prompts are read a horror or thriller and read a book with demons or a water theme. For A, read a horror or a thriller, I'm gonna be reading Carrie by Stephen King. I've never read a Stephen King book. I've never seen a horror film in my life, but I've been told by my mum and my best friend Ben, they said that this book isn't a horror book. Like, it's a bit creepy, but it's not like scary. So I'm like, okay then, I'll give it a go, whatever. In this book, we follow our main character, Carrie White, and she has the gift of telekinesis, and then she gets like bullied at school or something. I'm not really sure, but everyone at school is really awful to her. So she decides to take revenge on them by killing them all. I don't know if that's right. That's what Ben said. So I'm not sure what I will think about this book, but I'm definitely excited to read it, to see how I feel, and if I like it, maybe delve into some similar horror stories that start dipping my toe in, and then maybe I read this book and then I fall in love with horror, and then I can like watch horror films and stuff. Like, probably not, but we'll see. Once again, this is quite short. I think it's 250 pages. It should be quite an easy book to get through. The text isn't too small, so it should be another quite fast paced read. And then for an E, read a book with demons or a water theme. I went with the demons. I'm going to be reading City of Lost Souls by Cassandra Clare. This is the 5th book in the Mortal Instruments series, which is a YA fantasy in which we follow our main character Clary, who, well, this is in the 1st book. We've strayed very far away from the synopsis I'm about to give you because it is the 5th book. But yeah, we follow Clary throughout this series, and in the 1st book, Clary can see these shadow hunters, the demon hunters, and she's not supposed to see them. They are glamoured. They're supposed to be invisible to the human eye. However, Clary can see them, and this kind of just throws her headfirst into the shadow hunter world because she gets all tangled up in their business because she can see them, and it basically just goes from there. There is lots of angsty love, angsty romance, relationships, lots of drama, lots of intensity. This is just your typical YA fantasy from like 2009, and like you can't be mad at it. I didn't like City of Fallen Angels, which is the 4th book in this series, and I've been putting off reading Cassandra Clare books since I read City of Fallen Angels. And then I read Clockwork Prince, and I didn't like that one either. So I'm not having the best time. I'm hoping that this book will change that, and hopefully I will enjoy this. I'm pretty sure this is Emma's, from Emma Books. I'm pretty sure this is her favourite book in the series. Either this one or Sea of Heavenly Fire. I'm hoping that means this is going to be better than City of Fallen Angels. I'm pretty sure it's kind of like a general consensus that Fallen Angels is not great, but we're just going to have to see. I'm cautious. I'm not very excited to read it. in case I don't like it, but we're just gonna have to wait and find out. This is like over 500 pages, so it's 546 pages long. So once again, quite a long one. Not excited for the long book. I think that the general rule is you can only do the N.E.W.T. if you did the owl, and I completed 7 owls. So I have 5 other subjects that I could pick. I did pick out books for all 5 of the subjects I did in the owls, but I have chosen the 2 books that I do want to read the most for the last 2 books that I'm going to be reading this month. For an A in Ancient Runes, you have to read a book in which the author's name starts with the letter B, and that can be first name or last name. For this, I'm going to be reading The Queen of Nothing by Holly Black. This is the 3rd book in the Folk of the Air trilogy, which I think you've all heard of. I've read the first 2 books in this series in previous magical readathons. This year, I read The Cruel Prince for the Owls and The Wicked King for the Visit Hogsmeade week-long readathon that happened in June. So I feel like I have to read Queen of Nothing, just kind of round things off. And I was so excited when I saw this prompt. I was like, oh my god, yes, I can fit this book in, because it was something that I wanted to do. I'm gonna just say right now, I'm not a fan of this series, and I don't know why I decided to read it all, because I didn't enjoy the first book. And then I read the second one and I didn't really enjoy the second one, but I'm going to read the 3rd one anyway. I've pre-ordered the paperback that comes out at the end of July. It's happening. I'm probably going to just give them to the charity shop or something afterwards, but oh well, I'm going to have read them. In this series, we follow our main character Jude Duarte, who is a human who lives in the fairy world, because when she was like 8 years old, a fairy general showed up at her house, murdered her parents, and took her and her sisters to live in the Fey world, where he like brought them up. Bit creepy if you ask me, but hey ho. The first book, The Cruel Prince, takes place when Jude is 16, I believe, and she is so tired of the fairy folk looking down on her and her sisters for being human, so she decides that she wants to go on like a mission, kind of, to show them that she is as good as, if not better than them. Honestly though, I need to know what happened. I need an explanation for the ending of The Wicked King, because that was like the best thing about this goddamn book, was that ending. And now I have no choice. Even if I didn't want to read The Queen of Nothing before I read The Wicked King, I need to read it now after that ending. We're just gonna see how it goes. Maybe I'll love it, like who knows, because I know that people who absolutely adore the first 2 books in this series don't necessarily like The Queen of Nothing, so maybe it'll work the opposite way for me. I didn't like the first 2, but then I loved the last one. We're gonna have to wait and find out, ladies and gentlemen. The final subject I'm going to be taking for the N.E.W.T.s is Herbology, and to get an A in Herbology you need to read a book that has flowers on the cover, and I have 2 options for this, depending on how the rest of July goes, because one of the books on my July TBR is The Bone Season by Samantha Shannon. So if I like that book and I want to carry on with that series, then I will be reading The Mime Order by Samantha Shannon, which is the 2nd book in the Bone Season series. And if I don't like the Bone Season, I don't want to continue on with the series, I will be reading Queen of the Conquered by Kirsten Calendar. So let's start with The Mime Order. The Mime Order, as I said, is the 2nd book in a YA fantasy series, and in this series we follow our main character Paige, who is a clairvoyant. She can read people's minds, and in the 1st book we follow her as she gets attacked, drugged and kidnapped and taken to Oxford, which is a city that has been kept secret for 200 years because it is run by a different race, and she basically has to try and escape from being held captive in Oxford. I love Samantha Shannon. I read her adult debut novel, The Priory of the Orange Tree, in May, and I absolutely loved it. One of my favourite books of all time. Absolutely amazing, and I fell in love with Samantha Shannon from that book, and I want to read her other work, which is the Bone Season series. So obviously I need to read the Bone Season first, which probably will have happened by the time this video goes up, and then obviously, as I said, if I don't like the Bone Season, then I'll be reading Queen of the Conquered by Kirsten Calendar. This is I think it's an adult fantasy, is this one, but I'm not sure. It's a fantasy in which we follow our main character Sigourney, who is invited to an island with loads of other noble families from their kingdom. They're all summoned to this island because the king, who has no children, wants to select the heir to the throne for when he dies. However, when all of these noblemen are on this island, people start being killed. Yeah, and I think Sigourney has to make allies and find out who's killing these noblemen before they kill her. Once again, this is a book I've heard quite a lot of good things about, and it's a book that I have had on my radar for quite a while, and I'm excited to get to it. And obviously I hope I like the Bone season, but I hope I can read Queen of the Conquered this month. I'm hoping if I can breeze through my, the N.E.W.T.s TBR, then I can read it. I'm very excited to read this book. I know that the characters are all really morally grey. You can't really root for any of them because they're all bad people. Even if they do have redeeming qualities. I think this book I'm gonna really like. Very politically driven story, stuff like that. It is a Caribbean inspired fantasy story, which I've never heard of before. There are definitely not many. I'm very excited to read most of the books on this TBR. I said excited so many times. Should we have an excited word counter? I just added it 3 more times. Oh my gosh. So yeah, those are the 7 books on my August TBR. I know I rambled a lot in this video. I'm very sorry for that. Editing me, I hope you're having a fun time. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please make sure to hit the like button if you did, and subscribe if you feel so inclined. I would love to have you here, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.